Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Yes, and the mics are, yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the live Dork Forest in San Francisco, California. I know, it's a brand new town, I tell you, for doing a live Dork Forest. Allow me to reach inconspicuously for the Zoom while I tell you that Mike Rickberg just sang that song, right? He sang that song. He composed that song, and him and Sarah sang it. And at the end, of course, there's the Mexican hat dance. And then Patrick Brady's going to fix this audio. First time ever. I believe we've successfully gotten room tone. We had a moment of silence for Patrick Brady. It was very exciting. And Vilmos, of course, fixes the website. Now, and in other news, there's probably credits. I'll probably put them at the end, because let's just start it. Let's just get into it. Local dork luminary, Kelly Anneken?
Yes.
Am I pronouncing that?
You're pronouncing it correctly.
That is exciting, much like the Star Wars character Anakin.
Much like that, although spelled a bit differently.
2 N's, an E, a K, a bunch of other E's, and another N,
It's
right?
Dutch, but all dark side.
No, you do it.
Yeah.
You do it. Those prequels. That was a great bit, Patton Oswalt. Good work. Okay, so, that's brutal. So, what I said, we met at the Lucille Ball Comedy Festival.
We did. In
Jamestown, New York. A town that looked like Lucille Ball wanted to get out of almost immediately.
Yes.
Pretty sure that's what happened, and never returned, I don't think. Did she?
I don't think she returned to live, but her estate definitely bequeathed a lot of money to them to have that museum and festival. And
All right. So there was some active. I don't hate this town as much as I think.
I don't know. She had some affection for it, apparently.
Oh, good. A little nostalgia. Good for her.
And so did Desi. Like, they both made provisions in their wills for it, so.
Okay. All right. Jamestown, New York, folks. Essentially, there was this, 100 women in pairs, each of one of each pair wearing a shirt that said, "I am Lucy and I am Ethel."
Yeah.
I don't recommend. Who's Ethel? Who the fuck is like, I'm Ethel? Yeah. I would never wear this, no.
But no, actually, I met 2 young girls, and one was like, "I'm her Ethel." Like, I don't know. I guess I'm just too self-centered, but I'm like,
right?
Really?
Maybe me, and then me. I know, it's weird. It's because Lucy had that thing in her contract that Ethel had to be 20 pounds heavier or something.
Yeah, she did.
That was a thing in her contract. Yeah. I'm gonna make this more me and you talking. Hi, so talk amongst yourselves. So
I'm gonna
Kelly,
try to help.
No, don't worry about it. So Kelly, yes, you're a dork.
That I am.
Yes, you're a dork of many colors. You've got wow. You have got many things to talk about. When I said, "What do you want to talk about?" you were like, "I like reading biographies about women, powerful women."
Yes.
So I don't mind that. I don't read any biographies. So let's teach Jackie Cation about what's going down.
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I started when I was a kid.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, I tried to find like what the books were, but when I was in grade school, Catholic grade school, there were these biographies that were in a series, and we had all of them in our library. I think they were like the Manifest Destiny collection or something.
Oh, I will be finding that and putting it in the notes.
No, but
because they were children's books.
They were children's books.
And they were like the story of Helen Keller or whatever.
Yes, and the 2 that I remember most vividly, there was one about Juliette Gordon-Low, who was the founder of the Girl Scouts and the Girl Guides, and if you're British, I don't judge.
Open-minded of you.
Yeah, absolutely. We all speak English.
Right. Could have been the French.
Yeah. And then there was another one about Queen Liliuokalani, who was the last monarch of Hawaii before it was officially
stolen by Dole.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes. I remember that. Was that addressed in the children's book?
No, hence the Manifest Destiny bent.
Oh, excellent.
It was all very like benevolent dictatorship kind of situation.
We're
moving
helpers.
In.
We're helpers.
Oh yeah, we're totally helping.
It's nice.
But so, there was like a lot of that and a lot of like Lives of the Saints, like, Francis Xavier Cabrini and that whole situation.
Oh, interesting. So it wasn't all women. It was.
There were men, and I did read the men's biographies.
Sure, but you're not a sexist. You're
No.
willing to get out there and how were the great men of the world treated by manifest destiny?
Exactly.
Right.
Significantly better than the women. Spoiler alert, if you haven't read your history.
White guys do really well.
White guys coming out on top to this very day.
To this very day. Yeah, but did you ever read that Kissinger revisionist history? I never went into Laos thing. Oh,
man.
I have read something. There we go.
That sounds like a blood-boiling good time.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I don't think I read anything for years afterwards going, well, I can't be furious all the time.
Yeah, that makes
sense. So I had
sense.
to move on. And I read some Louis McMaster Bujold, which is a nice science fiction lady. Anyway, so that was grade school.
Yeah, so that was grade school, and it just kind of continued. I was like obsessed with Laura Ingalls Wilder for a really long time.
Right.
I got into college, and I was like, I was in my Sylvia Plath phase. So like, don't judge me. Like, it happened. It was a real thing.
Carrie Brownstein just talked about how much she liked Sylvia Plath and some other sad sack, Evelyn Waugh.
Oh, yeah, Brideshead Revisited. Oh, that's one
I
of my
haven't read
favorite
any
books.
of those. I bet you they're sad.
Oh, they're very sad.
Yeah, they're probably
very, very sad.
They might be sad. They might be tense.
Well, but see, the good thing about
Might be
Sylvia
some
Plath
bad life
is,
choices. Yeah.
if you're not super into poetry, it'll just kind of wash over you.
Okay.
You'll be
All
like,
right.
oh, she's like talking about bees. That sounds good. They make honey.
That's how I try to sell the Lord of the Rings to people.
Really?
I'm like, don't worry about the songs. It'll just wash over you. Don't worry about it. Just keep reading. And that's how they try to get you. It's the potato knish from Welcome Back, Kotter. That's fine. It's all right. Okay. So, yeah. Okay, so that was the only one. And then in junior high, did you read anything?
In junior high, yes. That was my Babysitter's Club phase, which I'm not super proud of.
It had to happen, though.
I'm
it
not
had to happen
super
to create
proud
the
of-
woman that you are today.
It did. Look, I could still, tell you an almost pitch-perfect physical description of each and every one of those babysitters. Claudia Kishi had perfect skin and almond-shaped eyes. Despite the fact that she was hiding little fun-sized packs of junk food all over her room that her very strict Japanese parents would not allow her to have. I want to know her secret. Were you a witch?
Right.
I
She
eat
could
a
have been.
plate of spaghetti and I look like a pizza.
Well, that's the thing, though. So that was one of the how many babysitters are there in the babysitters? Whatever.
At the time that I stopped reading, I think there were 9.
That was your late 20s, early 30s? When did you stop reading? There were 9?
I didn't stop until 8th grade.
Okay.
I wasn't allowed to read the ones with boys' names in the titles for much of my youth.
You know what that is? Bad parenting.
It was bad parenting.
If you open the book, people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I bet you there were boys in the ones that didn't have boys' names in
there
them.
were.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Logan Bruno, don't even get me started.
What was it? Was he almond-eyed as well?
No, he was from Australia.
Oh. Mm-hmm. Did he go on Walkabout? Was there some talk of Walkabout?
No, he mostly dated Marianne, who was the most boring one, and yet was my favorite, which, in light of what we're talking about today, makes no sense whatsoever.
Why was she boring?
Oh, she just had a really restrictive father. I'm
It sounds
maybe
like
now
all of
seeing the
parents
connection.
were super.
No. Dawn was a hippie from Palo
Okay.
Alto, and yeah.
Palo Alto.
She was super crazy because she was from California. And her mom was divorced and very permissive.
Oh, and did they take place in different cities?
No, well, kind of.
Wait, the Babysitter's Club.
Okay, so the Babysitter's Club was set...
I have never read the Babysitter's Club.
The Babysitter's Club was set in Stony Brook, Connecticut.
Okay.
Which was a suburb of Stamford, Connecticut, which
Okay.
I think is a real place.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I don't think I've ever been in Connecticut.
Okay.
Just read about it in these books.
Sure. There's a casino that does stand-up comedy there. Of course there is. Go.
Cool. They did not go there.
No.
As they were underage.
As they were underage and they were being babysat.
Yes.
Okay.
No, they were the babysitters.
Oh, the tale was about the babysitters.
Yes.
So was there a Dennis the Menace kind of situation where there were bad kids?
Sometimes.
Or did they not care about the children?
Oh, they cared very deeply.
Were the children addressed in the books? In each
Oh,
of
yeah,
the books?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so there were 9 babysitters that all lived in
Stony Brook, Connecticut. One of them was from New York City, so sometimes they would go there.
This is like the American Doll collection.
It very much was. Which I also read. exhaustively as a child.
Oh, is there American Doll literature in addition to getting an American Doll?
Every doll has 6 books that kind of follow on.
Who's writing those books?
Oh gosh, what's her name? Oh God.
Is there one lady?
No, different people write them. I can't remember the name of the woman who invented the American Dolls, but it's something weird like Merriman Lynch or something odd.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
So 6 books per doll.
6 books per doll.
And
have you checked them out recently?
No. All I know about those is
Mattel bought them and it went crazy. It went totally nuts.
Wait, it blew up? Or?
It blew up. Mattel just started marketing it instead of just sending this catalog 4 times a year to your house.
Right.
She remembers. That was the most exciting day of my life. I didn't have cable.
Right.
No. I didn't get a doll until my 16th birthday. My friends.
You got an American Girl doll when you were 6, because they're like $300.
Yeah, my parents could never afford it.
Right. So they're made by children who should make their own clothing.
Presumably.
Right, because you can buy separate clothes for these things.
Oh, you can. Oh, God. Go the next time. They have more now. They used to just be in Chicago, but they have one in New York. They probably have one in LA now.
You would
go to an American Girl place.
And
I would suggest having
bring
a couple
gun
of drinks
and eat a
first.
bullet right in front of them. It just sounds like. I know that because I have friends in Minneapolis who road trip once a year to Chicago to the American Girl doll because they have 2 girls.
Yeah,
and they're the biggest hippies in the world. I don't understand why.
No. See, it's brilliant, and this is why Mattel bought it, because they're based on historical eras. People feel justified, even if they're anti-consumerism. They're like,
right.
No, but it's history.
Right, we're going to buy this Native American doll.
Yeah.
And then we're going to buy this kilt or whatever.
This
Native Americans did
fake embroidery set.
Right.
For a doll that can't sew.
Right.
That's a good investment of $25.
Oh my God. You know what would be, can we make our own doll set where there's tiny girl dolls who work in factories with no fire escapes? And then
I had a friend who
what was the name of that in the early 1900s? There was the Triangle Shirt Factory. Thank you. 3 people. Yes, Triangle Shirt Factory.
Honestly, they don't shy away from the dark material.
Oh, they don't?
That might already exist. Yeah, in the Samantha books, Nellie and her sisters all worked in a factory, and their lungs were coated in lint.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all right. It's pretty harsh.
I'm okay with that because nobody's reading Old Yeller anymore.
We can definitely criticize, the dolls themselves. Well, the books are actually pretty good.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'm defending literature for 10-year-olds on the Dork Forest. I'm like,
the Dork Forest where we get to talk
development.
about babysitters, and then the American Girl dolls.
Yeah, talk about powerful women. I mean, merchandising alone.
Right.
All those women are worth more than you and I and everyone in this room put together.
It's true. And I read some nonfiction in junior high, but it was mostly I think I was assigned a biography in 8th grade, and I read the biography of Alan Pinkerton, the founder of the Pinkerton Agency, and it mostly on his early life before he created a spy network that would look into people's divorces. But it was when he saved Lincoln's life before he didn't.
Yeah.
And one time he saved it. It was a bit of an epic fail in the end, but in the first, initially there was good times. So, okay, so these are your 3 current favorites?
So these are my current favorites. 2 of them I've read more recently. One of them I read a while ago.
Okay. What's the one you read a while ago, I wonder?
The one that I read a while ago is Furious Improvisation, which has a really long subtitle, which is how the WPA and a cast of thousands made high art out of desperate times.
Oh my God, it's the WPA, which was the work thing in the
Works Progress Administration.
Yes, well, which you will know more about since you just read that.
Yeah.
So is Susan Quinn the author, or
Susan Quinn is the author?
She is the author, and is it about a lady who was in the WPA?
It is. The primary focus of the book is a woman named Hallie Flanagan,
who
was a widow from Grinnell, Iowa. And she had a husband that she was married to, which is shocking.
Right, that's what you should do.
Yeah. Usually people get married to their husbands.
Yeah, right, if they're going to have them.
So they got married right out of college, and he had tuberculosis, which is weird, because he was also a football star, but they didn't know that he had tuberculosis. So I'm like, was it a really shallow field of talent at Grinnell College? I don't really...
What year was this?
This was, I think, 1911.
Okay.
So, I mean, they didn't have sophisticated tuberculosis identifying equipment, but I would think that, like, wheezing on the field
hacking
might
and the
be,
wheezing.
Yeah.
But they were beating the shit out of each other at that time.
Yeah, they leather helmets and whatnot.
Right. But I think Teddy Roosevelt, they were killing people on the field as opposed to now where they die afterwards.
Possibly.
But it's yeah. But so Hallie was married to a football star.
Yeah, and it wasn't a super happy marriage, but then he got super sick with TB, and they had 2 young boys, and then he died of TB.
Okay.
So she went and moved back in with her parents and was like, I have this theater degree. I need to, like, earn a living.
Okay.
Which is not a sentence anyone ever wants to say out loud.
Do you, by any chance, have a theater degree?
I do indeed have a theater degree.
Which might have drawn you to the story of Halle Berry or whatever the fuck her name is.
So after her husband died, she had sex with Billy Bob Thornton. And won an Oscar.
Monsters, Inc. As long as we're riffing. But, okay.
Yeah, so then, she wound up getting a fellowship to go abroad and study theater. She fell in love with the Russian theater, which in the 1920s was maybe not the best idea.
Weird. So, like, right after the Tsar was killed and communism was founded.
They were flush with communism at the time that she went there.
And, okay.
And she was so impressed with Stalin.
Did she bring her
and
children
everybody.
with her?
She did not. Her children.
She left them in the car?
Actually, her oldest and favorite son then died.
The favorite always dies.
Well, and her son actually said to her, "Oh, I should have died instead of that one that you liked."
And she said, "Yeah, you're right, Jimmy."
No,
thank God.
But like, I think she cried, which is kind of the same thing.
That is brutal. She had a hard life.
She had a hard life.
She had a hard life? You know who had a hard life? The younger son.
Probably.
How'd that guy work out?
I don't know. She named him Frederick with a C, so I kind of feel like the deck was stacked against him to begin with.
Right. She may not have liked him at all.
Yeah.
Took one look at him and she's like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But wait, so one of the kids died and the other kid
stayed with her parents in Iowa.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So he wasn't like raised by the Iowan wolves. He had like a loving family who presumably thought he was just fine.
Right. Presumably.
Yeah.
Yes.
So she went abroad and studied theater and then got.
Did she go to Russia?
She went to Russia.
What's her name again?
Hallie Flanagan.
Thank you, Flanagan. Okay. So, yeah. That's weird. And then, so that was in the, so that's in the early 20s.
Yeah, this is when like Stanislavski was big in Russia. And, they were very, filled with nationalism because they kind of had to be on account of communism.
Sure.
That was the whole point, was like, oh, Russia's awesome. And we're awesome. We're gonna ignore all these atrocities around us and focus on this theater.
Russians are good at that.
Yeah.
It's one of their go-tos.
So anyway, she came back and got a professorship at Vassar.
Okay.
And then randomly got married to this guy she didn't really like. Again.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
What did he do?
He was a classics professor at Vassar, and they met because, like, the president of Vassar was like, hey, this guy's bummed because his wife just died in childbirth, and, like, you've had some heartbreak. Why don't you put him in one of your silly little playthings and cheer him up? So she did that, and then he just, like, kept wanting to marry her, and she's like, oh, I already got married to a guy that I didn't really like. I don't really want to do that again. But then they, like, went to Sicily, and they were like, well, let's just get married.
Wow.
The book is not super clear on the negotiations that led
that led to her getting married.
Like, I don't know.
So is that, where does the WPA come in?
Okay, we just got there.
Did we get there?
We just
right
got
after
there.
she marries the Sicilian? Not Sicilian.
He would have been more interesting had he been a Sicilian.
Right.
Yeah, so she was friends in college with Harry Hopkins, who was the head of the WPA. And they were talking about these different arts programs, and the federal run program is what, like, the blanket organization was called. And they were looking for somebody to head up the theater segment of it. And he had known her in college, so he was like, okay, come to Washington, head up the federal theater project. And you'll have, the ability to freely produce any content that you want. It'll be totally uncensored.
That sounds like communism.
Right. So then when they started doing plays about communism during the Great Depression, that is where a lot of problems started.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, as soon as they started kind of doing things that had a socialist bent, which a lot of people were socialists.
Right.
And outright communists at the time.
Sure.
Because this is before labor unions, this is before Social Security, this is before anybody had any kind of social safety net.
Right.
So there's a lot of plays that are really, anti-government.
Right.
They're very pro social services. And, understandably, more conservative people were not super happy with the government.
Her good works.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, and it wasn't just her. I mean, it was all over the country. She's overseeing this. But I mean, they were just constantly challenging things. Like there's a play called, The Revenge of the Beavers that was a children's play.
Sure. Oh, because
it's a children's play.
Right. And the beavers make dams.
The beavers do make dams, and they take down like this big capitalist beaver. And so that was held up as an example of their communist propaganda. Some of it was communist propaganda.
Sure.
The living newspapers, which I kind of wish we still had today, which were just, because this is one of the provisions they made, because they were like, okay, there's all these unemployed actors. The whole point of it was to get actors back to work.
Right.
Was to just get anybody a job any way that they could.
Right.
So, the living newspapers were a solution, because any play, like even a play with a large cast only has like 30 people. Mm-hmm. So they were like, okay, let's do these living newspapers where we dramatize an issue or the news of the day, and we can have a cast of hundreds. Doing all the, this is before 24-hour news cycles, obviously.
Right.
And so they would just bring all these people in to do these, but anytime it commented on foreign policy or American leaders of the day or had kind of a leftist bent, people would get up in arms because they felt that they were, being
super biased.
Yeah.
Okay. And not supportive of it.
Yeah, and in some cases they were.
Yeah.
But in other cases they were just trying to do their art, man.
All right.
And
so she was the head of the theater department essentially.
She was the head of the theater department of America.
That's because the WPA built everything, right? I mean, they built all the railroads and not all of the. I mean, there were some major railroads built up with slave labor earlier.
Yes.
But other than that, there was but they the WPA had wasn't it Hoover Dam? Am I thinking?
I think so.
Correct, Hoover Dam. There we go. And
yeah, sure, why not?
Sure. But I mean, there was a lot of things that were created.
Yeah. So I mean, the issue anytime you have the government funding art, people are like, why?
Oh, right.
This isn't needed. This isn't necessary.
Right, but they let it go because everyone needed a job, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
But I mean,
how long did it last?
It only lasted for 4 years. Like any theater program.
Nice.
Oh, I got theater program material.
You got singers? You got
all day
singers?
long.
Theater program? All day. Excellent. Where did you go to college?
Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. That was the appropriate response. That was our mascot, actually, was a derisive laugh.
In Dayton, Ohio. All right. It's I've never been to Dayton. It sounds like dancing. No, that's a line from Philadelphia Story. Anyway, so
we did that play when I was in college.
Oh, Philadelphia Story?
Yeah.
All right.
I found it baffling.
Did you?
I did. I remember very little about it, except there was a small child who danced a lot, and my very short friend played her.
Oh, did she sing Lydia, oh Lydia, the Tattooed Lady?
Probably.
Because it's a Cary Grant, Katharine Hepburn movie.
Yeah, it is.
With Jimmy Stewart got an Oscar for it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great movie. The movie that I like with Cary Grant and Katharine Hepburn is called Holiday, though. It's the movie they made before that, 1936 maybe, and it's with Katharine Hepburn. Cary Grant falls in love with Katharine Hepburn's sister. That's probably available upstairs at the Lost Weekend Video here in San Francisco. We're in the Cine Cave, by the way, and this is a great venue. Anyway, so but I am kind of curious how this ends. What is she?
Not well.
Not well? Everybody dies in the end.
Yeah,
That's the thing about
none of these stories really end well. I was thinking about them all three together last night. I was like, nobody really got what they wanted in the end, which I guess is to live forever. But no, they're in a book.
What did she want?
She wanted to create a national theater that would be funded, in theory, in perpetuity.
Right.
And, most other developed nations do have a national theater.
Okay.
They were in talks to kind of start figuring out how the financing would work with that, and extending this beyond the WPA. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, right about the time he started those talks, the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Oh, early 50s?
Yeah. Martin Dies started that out. No, in 1938, I believe. They passed the resolution to allow the committee to form.
Okay.
And for a long time, people had been sort of saying, oh, this place is like a hotbed for communism.
Right.
There was a secretary who worked for Hallie Flanagan for a long time, named Hazel Huffman, in the early years of the project, was informing William Randolph Hearst. Some of you may have been to his house.
I have been to his
Which
house.
is an amazing house.
Right. So
such a bad man. Such a beautiful house.
Her name was Hazel Huffman,
which is like the most 1930s name you can even imagine.
Rivaled by Dolores Umbridge. It makes me think. Okay, so wow. So and then,
possibly, actually, they had very similar roles in what went down,
like narcolepsy, right?
Yeah.
Giant narcs. Okay.
So Hazel Huffman had been informing to Hearst's papers on what she deemed to be communist activity.
Okay.
And,
boo.
We got a hiss for Hearst.
Yeah.
And so then when the committee formed a few years later, she gets to waltz in and just give like hours and hours of testimony about how everybody were communists. She was very anti-Semitic. She talked a lot about all of the mixed race activities that were going on.
She sounds like a charmer.
Oh, she was.
Yeah.
Actually,
Michelle
if you
Bachmann of
guys
her
are
age.
interested in an even more entertaining version of this story,
Go to your local library.
well, you can do that,
No.
or you could go upstairs and rent the movie Cradle Will Rock.
Oh, really?
And Joan Cusack actually plays Hazel Huffman. And it's
Cradle
phenomenal.
Will Rock is the WPA theater TV movie with what's his face?
Yes, he's in there.
Is
and,
really not that guy?
and Mrs. Who's It and
Is it Tim Robbins?
that one guy. Yes,
Is it Tim Robbins?
Well,
Good for
Tim
me.
Robbins directed it.
Oh, is he? Damn
Yeah.
it. So
Susan
close.
Sarandon, though, is also in it as an Italian art dealer with the worst Italian accent you will ever hear committed to film.
What do you
and That
mean?
includes,
What do you mean?
That includes Roberto Benigni.
It was with the spaghetti and the anyway.
That's actually almost identical to what she does.
Did she do a hand motion? Did she do a thing with the hand?
I think she says, "Oh, what a shame to let the classics slip away."
And you know, Sophia Loren is only about 77 years old. She could have been in
And
it.
at the time, this was 99, you know?
So
was
she
probably
might have
like-
been.
yeah.
I think she was 77 then.
Yeah.
She
well,
was,
the idea...
she's been 77
I don't know.
since
the idea is
1990.
that this particular character was an ex-lover of Mussolini's, so I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how important...
Cradle Will Rock, though.
Yeah.
You can get more...
yeah, and there's music and singing and dancing. It's great.
Oh, that's neat. Okay.
Anyway.
So
So Hazel Huffman's informing. There's another woman who says that her black co-actor asked her on a date, and she like reported it to her director, and he was like, "Chill out. Like, why don't you just
say no."
Yeah, just say no. And so she got to go in front of Congress, and so they were all up in arms. Well, because you also have to understand that in context, right as that committee was formed, there was a filibuster against the anti-lynching bill that was in Congress.
Oh, I did not know
so
that.
the filibuster basically ensured that lynching remained okay for everybody.
Wow.
At the same time, you're having a lot of strikes all over the nation.
And this is
especially,
38.
This is 38.
Okay.
And I mean, and there have been strikes going on for years and years, like leading up to this. So
Mm-hmm.
it's this political hotbed right now, and the Federal Theater Project is essentially the scapegoat for all of this.
Okay.
So Hallie Flanagan only got to go in and defend for like a day.
Right.
And in the course of her testimony, they like accused Christopher Marlowe of being a communist when she tries to quote him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Drug addict.
yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, sure. Okay.
You know, hung
Maybe
out with
Shakespeare.
Hung
We don't
out
know.
with thieves and stuff. Yeah, no,
Right.
yeah.
He could have been Shakespeare. See that episode of The Dork Forest. So
Yeah, so she got fired
she got fired.
because the
Is that where it ended?
pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so it just followed her career mostly.
It just followed her career.
The WPA part
Yeah.
of her career. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's no like epilogue with she went off and
You know, she went to Vassar.
she raised. Oh, she went back to Vassar and taught.
Yeah.
Oh, she didn't join the army and fight the Nazis.
No, I don't think so. I don't know if she
Quentin
did
Tarantino
anything.
would make her
She
join
may
the
have done
army
something.
and fight the Nazis. But no, that's awesome. Susan Quinn is the author of that one.
Yeah.
That's neat. Okay, who's the next one?
So we'll just go. The next one back
Yeah.
in time is Madame de Stael, who's much more fun than Hallie Flanagan.
Who's Madame de Stael?
Madame de Stael was a daughter of the Swedish ambassador. Actually, not ambassador.
Weird.
She was the wife of the Swedish ambassador. She was the daughter of the Swiss finance minister to Louis the last one.
Okay.
Louis the 16th.
Okay. What year was this?
This was 17. She was born in like 1780 something. Yeah, look in there. I brought the books just in case we needed to check on dates.
Because Mistress to an Age by J. Christopher Harold.
Spoiler alert, the mistress is Madame de Stael.
She is the Madame de
Stael.
Stael.
The age is the French Enlightenment.
Okay.
So that gives us some context.
Did she do like salons and stuff?
She did.
Was she a salon lady?
She was a salon lady.
Smarty pants come over?
Have you ever seen Steel Magnolias? It was pretty much like that.
It's exactly like that. It's like having a hair salon and then a bunch of people talk about the issues of the day, which in their case happened to be something else.
Yeah. Diabetes.
Aw.
And childbearing.
Paula Deen. And so what's with this lady?
Yeah, she was nuts.
She was?
Yeah, bonkers. Balls to the walls crazy. She is a really fun biography to read because of how crazy she was. Her mother raised her essentially in seclusion from anyone her own age, but let her come to her salons, which boasted the likes of like Voltaire. So she learned at the age of 4 how to engage in really high level, sophisticated philosophical debates, but she had no idea how to interact with other people.
Oh my God. That sounds
Which didn't backfire at all.
At all. Did she marry someone she didn't like?
She did.
Where is your husband? There he is. Hi, Tom.
He's great. I like him fine.
That's why this is what you've done. You're reading about what other bad life. This is reading these biographies is like watching reality television.
Oh, it is.
It's like,
well, honestly, I do think Madame de Stael in particular, if TV had existed, her life would have been much better.
Oh, really?
Well, because her whole life existed to kind of reach these insane manic emotional highs. And I think if she'd had TV to kind of project onto, she would not have needed to do that.
What do you mean? She would have salons and people would talk about smart stuff.
Yeah, but they were also having all these crazy affairs. Her best friend, I think, died a virgin, but was married to this guy who never pressed his, husbandly advantage on her. But she flirted with everybody and would people would just fall desperately in love with her. And then she would be like, oh yeah, but we're never having sex.
Wow.
And, yeah.
What a dick.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, that's a jackass move.
She was worse than Madame de Stael in a way because
at least Madame de Stael put out.
Yeah, very much so.
Very much so. She was available.
She possibly the most available. Yeah.
From what age?
Oh gosh, not till after she was married.
Oh really?
Well, she also was kind of in love with her dad for about 16 years. Yeah.
I love that was almost entirely women.
Yeah.
It was and the guy's just very silent.
But the thing is, it wasn't until literally her wedding day that she found out what sex was.
Right.
So she found that out and she's like, Dad,
that's so weird.
I still think you're the perfect man. But
yet she probably read Latin.
I don't
Greek and
think
Latin.
so.
Oh, so she wasn't classically trained? Greek, Latin?
I don't know.
You don't know because there's a lot of instructional manuals in old-timey languages.
Yeah.
I don't know if you read about Pliny the Elder, but that dude was constantly doing it.
The French were more to the DIY, I think. They're we have the language of love. How hard could it be?
The language of love, which talks around love.
Yeah.
And the act.
Yeah, and they were weird, everybody. So her husband was the Swedish ambassador. She married him essentially for some island that France wanted from Sweden that later turned out to be kind of a waste of a marriage.
Oh, that ain't right.
Because they got it and they were like, oh, can we give it back? And the Swedes were like, no.
Now you have to build roads. We're leaving. Okay, that's hilarious.
So she married this guy and made his life miserable until he died.
Wow, she was hard on people.
She was extremely hard on people. Her longest relationship was with a guy named Benjamin Constant, also kind of an on-the-nose Enlightenment name.
Constant?
He was not, in fact, very constant.
Okay.
Was
he a little vague?
He was really weird, also. I just feel like I'm going to describe all these people as weird, because they were just strange.
Right.
He was raised by a single father, and by raised by a single father, I mean packed off to these tutors that would, take him and let prostitutes take care of him for a while.
Oh.
So he was really well versed in sex.
Right, the deed. He knew what he was doing.
Yeah, deflowered at a very young age. Can't think why.
Because there was opportunity and motive.
So and then And then so his tutors, some of his tutors like taught him things. He was very intellectual.
Right.
But he was also kind of sallow and fidgety and weird, and nobody really liked him, except for Madame de Stael.
Okay.
They started this like passionate affair. And then she was like just obsessed with keeping him around. They weren't sleeping together anymore after a certain point. But anytime he would try to leave, she would like pitch these huge scenes. She would like go wherever he was hiding out. She went to his sister's house one time and like ripped open her dress and like pulled all of her hair down and was like on a staircase like wailing for him to come downstairs.
And is this in France in the late 1700s?
Yeah, in early 1800s.
Early 1800s.
Yeah, this is why they needed TV. This is now we're getting back around to the question that you asked me.
Okay.
I think if she'd had like, HBO
or a reality television.
Yeah, or reality television, like Bad Girls Club, something like that.
Okay.
Then she's like, oh, these people are doing these behaviors. I can see the consequences without actually having to partake in the activity.
That is the nicest thing you could say about something like Bad Girls Club. That people are learning about consequences. The only consequences I see are people saying, oh, I get a TV show if I act like a maroon. That's what I see.
That's interesting. I really do think that TV helps humanity sublimate some of our more destructive urges.
All right.
Are the people snorting people that don't own TVs?
No, they might own TVs, but I have a TV. We never turn it on, but I like it.
Yeah.
And but I can't watch reality television. I already know people.
Yeah, that's fair.
They're terrible, terrible people.
Yeah, but I mean, my point is that her histrionics provided the idle rich with something to do.
Right. Was she an idle rich?
She was, and yet she had this really profound political influence. I generally kind of try to compare her. If this is the reality TV coming. She's like Kim Kardashian if Robert Kardashian hadn't died. And kind of had been a positive influence.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, granted, Madame de Stael's mother, Madame Necker, was insane.
Okay,
and had her body preserved in alcohol upon dying. Like that's the kind of crazy she was.
Good alcohol? Rubbing alcohol?
I think like rubbing alcohol. I don't know.
Okay,
I don't know what they had back then.
Right, was it port? Was it a nice Madeira or however you pronounce that? I got nothing. But that's weird.
But basically, so she was kind of like the Kim Kardashian of the day.
What did Robert Kardashian do for a living?
He was a lawyer.
Was he OJ's lawyer?
He was.
And how did he die?
Did OJ esophageal cancer.
Okay. Did OJ give him esophageal cancer? Did they make out and OJ then killed him?
There were carcinogens in the glove.
There were, and okay, so yeah, I don't know.
And this was Madame de Stael. I mean, just everybody knew who she was. She did have a salon. She wasn't even French. But
was she Swiss? Or?
She was Swiss.
Okay.
The family, technically, their estate was in a town called Coppet, which was just out of Geneva in Switzerland.
Okay.
And she spent most of her life just antagonizing Napoleon.
Really?
She was Napoleon's persistent, like, YouTube troll. Napoleon couldn't do anything without Madame de Stael being like the fly in his ointment. What did he say? How
did that work out for her?
Actually, surprisingly well. She is credited by J. Christopher Harold, who's the author of this biography.
Right.
A lot of her biographers aren't particularly sympathetic to her because she was very sexually profligate. And was she was very frivolous. She was kind of a bitch.
Right, but she was super smart and interesting.
She was super smart. She was unfocused. She wrote a couple of novels that don't really hold up to the test of time because they were so like written in the moment. But I mean, this is like, the
like 50 Shades of Grey novels?
Yes, actually. Yeah. I mean,
I would not be surprised.
They wouldn't be allowed to be that explicit, but it was that kind of, it was just inane.
Right.
And people just wanted to read something inane.
Right. Been there.
American Girl books. Hello. Actually, no. Babysitter's Club were more inane.
Right.
So she would write all of these long political treatises and get them published.
Okay.
And she was basically sort of like the last really like French Enlightenment person as things veered into Romanticism.
Okay.
And yet she kind of helped introduce Romanticism to France without ever changing her own opinion, which is fascinating. She would just like extol the virtues of whatever sort of philosophy she was espousing, just like through her own filter. she'd be like,
personality driven rather than...
Yeah, she'd be like, the French, the German Romanticism is great because of all the ways that it exemplifies all of the points of French Enlightenment. Even if it wasn't entirely true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's an ad
It was
campaign.
kind of like the Huffington Post. Anyway, so Napoleon hated her, and she was always bugging Napoleon, because after her father died, she's like, hey, my dad gave the French government 2 million francs.
Right.
I want it back. And Napoleon was like, I hate you. You're not allowed to live in Paris anymore. And so she would go just far enough outside of Paris and then be like, I'm going to go back to Paris. I'm going to go back to Paris.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to go back to Paris. And then the gendarmes would show up and be like, you are not going back to Paris right now.
Oh my God.
And she'd be like, come on guys, seriously, I love Paris. Can't I just be in Paris?
I just want a croissant. I just want one croissant.
And so, but she had this whole entourage that she just carted around with her everywhere.
And wow, I wish there was a chart. I enjoy a chart when there's some sort of a date chart of her life.
Oh, hang on, there is one.
There is one? There should be one.
Anyway, so Napoleon has been quoted as saying that they say Madame de Stael never speaks ill of me, and yet anyone who's spent an hour or two more with her has nothing good to say about me. Again, that's a paraphrase. But I mean, she hated him, and she was one of the few people that stood up to him against his censorship.
Right.
She wrote a book called On Germany, and Germany was an enemy of the French at the time.
Right.
I know there's a timeline in here. I just can't find it for you.
Okay, that's fine.
Anyway, so Germany was an enemy of France because France had basically invaded and kind of was taking over Germany at the time. So she went and visited in Germany, and nobody liked her in Germany. They thought she was ugly. They thought she was fat. They thought that she...
They think she was ugly and fat?
They did think she was ugly and fat.
Specifically, the Germans were like, this woman again with her fat ugliness.
They did.
The Germans they're not always politic.
And they're not. But I mean, but they appreciated her because she also hated Napoleon. They were really, they were running out of non-German people to talk about how much they hated Napoleon with.
I used to hang out with this woman who had a car who would drive me to open mic. It's a lot like that.
Yeah. Actually, it's exactly like that.
They were like, the enemy of my enemy. It'll be fine.
So she went to Germany and imported their romanticism back to France, along with this guy named Schlegel, who is famous for other reasons. Why
do I know that name?
He did a German translation of Shakespeare. Do you know about Schlegel?
I just heard that name.
Right? Everybody's heard it, but nobody knows what he did.
Right. I will put a link to his Wikipedia page, and we will know that it is accurate.
One thing that he did was tutor Madame de Stael's children, who were named
she had children.
Augustus after her husband.
Mm-hmm.
Augustine was the girl, and then Gustavus or something. Like, she really had George Foreman disease and couldn't come up with a new name for her kids. So this guy, she basically was stringing him along as if she was interested in him sexually.
Right.
Just to get him to tutor her kids.
Okay.
Terrible mother, by the way. Really bad mom. I know that is a shock after everything else that I've said.
Her self-absorption makes me think she would have been such a great mother.
I know.
How is it manifested, her bad motherhood? Did she say, you're my favorite and I wish your brother would have
She did not say that.
Good for her.
She just mostly ignored them.
Okay.
The paternity of her younger two children was very much in question.
But that was of the time, wasn't it?
It was of the time.
Because the first child had to be the heir, and then the other two, it could be Dutch.
Well, the first child definitely belonged to that guy. Mr. de Stael.
Right, Mr. de Stael.
Nobody really wrote a book about him.
Right.
Yeah, he died. She was very mean to him his entire life, and then when he died, she made this big scene about how poorly she treated him.
Oh, and she was like, remorse? Buyer's remorse?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, barrier's remorse.
Barrier's remorse, excellent.
Widow's remorse, I don't know what you call that.
Right.
But she never got married again.
Okay.
Which Hallie Flanagan did.
Right.
Benjamin Constant was constantly trying to get her to marry him.
And then constantly trying to leave when she wouldn't.
Yeah.
And she was constantly not letting him go.
Exactly. Well, she had loaned him enormous sums of money. Throughout their relationship. So whenever she wanted...
Did she ever get that back?
No, but
that's not a loan.
That was her bargaining chip, actually.
Okay.
And anytime he was like, I want to leave and go marry this other lady, he did eventually do this. She's like, okay, you owe me 90,000 francs.
Okay.
So pay up, before you brokey.
Go.
And he never could.
Right, so he was like, well, I guess
no
I'll
money.
just chill out.
Yeah, he later rose to prominence in politics under Napoleon. Yeah.
So wait, so how did she die?
Oh, of old age.
Really? Mm-hmm. When Napoleon was in power?
No, a little bit afterward.
After?
Yeah,
During the Revolution?
No, because Napoleon died and she did all this political machinations before that to like try and get him out of power. And then when he was out of power, people wanted to bring the monarchy back and she didn't like that either.
Right.
So then she tried to get Napoleon reinstalled.
So that's like So 1811 he goes to Elba, right? And then 1814 he escapes from Elba. God knows how. Was he Dana Naiad or whatever her name was? And I don't know if he was on an island. Diana? I'm over here not knowing shit. It'll be fine. You know what I meant. We all know what I meant. All right. So, but he didn't. I never understood how he got off. I mean, he obviously got off by use of sneakery.
Yeah, bribery.
Right. There was somebody with a boat that took him off the island, and then so he died in like 1816 or something.
I think so. Hang on, I'm going to look at my human encyclopedia, who happens to be in the audience.
Well, he didn't die for a long time. He was exiled.
Yeah, right. He was exiled.
Oh, did he live well into into the 20s or 30s of 1800s?
On St. Helena, and
on St. Helena.
Some people believe the British poisoned him.
Just to end it? They were like, let's end this madness.
Because they hated him.
Well, yeah.
Everyone hated Napoleon.
Well,
Well, except for Napoleon. He liked himself just fine.
He was the Hitler of his age.
He was.
Right. And then we got Hitler, and now we can have Hitler jokes.
Yeah.
Instead of Napoleon jokes. Comics in the 50s, the 1850s,
what a
it was
time.
huge.
What a time. It must have been awesome.
Anyway, so that's what happened to her.
That's pretty much what happened to her. She died opium-addled old lady. She had she did get married a second time in her very old age to a guy named Rocca, who also had tuberculosis.
Weird.
Yeah. Powerful
that
ladies love
a TB.
Yeah, if you got tuberculosis, just look for a powerful lady.
All right, what about Cleo?
Oh man, Cleopatra.
That book.
This book
There has to be a million books about Cleopatra.
This one claims to be authoritative. Insofar as that is even possible. Honestly, it's called a biography, but I feel that any biography of Cleopatra should be labeled speculative fiction.
This won the Pulitzer Prize.
It won the Pulitzer Prize.
Wow.
And it almost feels like, I don't know, it almost feels like anyone could read it though.
Does it feel fictional?
Is it
written in story kind of?
Yeah, it's written in story. It's got a good drive. The battle scenes are great. There's a lot of tension. There's some
like
Romans.
300.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is like 300, but with more lady parts.
More lady bits. She was a rock star, right?
She really was. I had no idea the extent of it. One important thing to note, which I didn't know until I read this book, she did not die from an asp bite.
Oh, that is the hearsay.
That's a myth.
Okay.
I thought it was real all these years.
And and Cleopatra, A Life by Stacy Schiff, winner of the Pulitzer Prize, she knows how she died? How did she die?
Again,
old age,
they
opium,
think that
tuberculosis.
a person brought in a basket of figs that were poisoned. To this day, nobody knows for sure.
Another Indiana Jones
But she was holed up
It's the way it goes. It's the way it goes.
Yeah, keep your crystal skull. Let's find Cleopatra's asp.
Yeah. Oh, I bet you don't Spielberg will make that movie.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
there's more Star Wars movies coming though. He might be dead before he finds about my podcast.
He might. Okay. Oh wait, you know what, Kelly Anneken, we never did really introduce.
Oh yeah.
Here we are, minute 40. We just met in Jamestown, New York, but Kelly Anneken is the comedy curator for Pandora Radio. Are you familiar with Pandora? Oh,
hey!
Yes, very exciting. Pandora, we've all been there. I am constantly being driven mad by the Funkadelic station that continues to put disco on.
You gotta use your thumbs down.
I gotta use my thumbs down.
Write a letter. Write to our customer service department.
What is that email address?
They don't have one. They have a portal.
Oh, they have a portal?
Yeah, just go to
Pandora.
Yeah, go to help on Pandora.com at the bottom of your screen.
Oh, there you go.
They answer every email.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, they do.
All right, and there's just 9 of you, right? Aren't there like a half a dozen of you just toiling away in Oakland?
No, we have almost, I think, 700 people on site now.
Well.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're like the WPA of Oakland. That's awesome.
In some ways, yeah, it's a great job.
And now, wait, yeah, so you're the comedy curator, and the comedy thing is relatively new, is that true?
Yeah, comedy's only been around for like 2.5 years. So tell your friends, please. Tell your friends.
Feel free to make a comedy. What does it mean? I know. I think.
Yeah, it's the same as the music. So who's your favorite comedian? Jackie Cation, of course.
Oddly enough.
So you go to Pandora.com,
Right
you
here.
type in Jackie Cation. It's going to give you Jackie's material,
Right.
as well as material from other comedians who are similar to Jackie Cation.
So all ladies, Lisa Lampanelli will come up.
It is all ladies. I'm working on that.
Yeah,
I'm working
The
on
algorithm
more
has
equitable
gotta be-
gender
yeah.
representation. But
Well, it's hard because it's like, they're just like, oh, okay, so this is a high treble voice. Let's see what we can get other high treble voices.
Yeah, there's
It's an algorithm, right?
Yeah, there's an algorithm, and then our listeners kind of thumb up and thumb down. And I think there's a lot of people who only want to hear guys, so I think that helps or doesn't help. I don't
It's
know.
the way of the world, man.
Yeah, so yeah, just if you like Jackie Cation, just type in Jackie Cation. Just thumb up every
I had
Jackie
a woman
Cation
last
track.
night in Walnut Creek. I did a sports bar in Walnut Creek because it's 1997. I swear to God, I drove to it and it felt it was a beautiful crowd and it's a beautiful space. Greg Asdurian, is the curator of that space and, it's a pool hall, and there was a dude, and there was plenty of dudes, and it was all right. There was a guy who showed up at that gig in sweatpants. By the way, he just came out to the bar in sweatpants.
Oh, he was like, was he performing?
No.
That sounds great.
No, it. You know what? I don't care that he wasn't performing. Don't go out in sweatpants. The grocery store. That's the last time of the day when you can go out and
Yeah.
You're going out to a bar where people are going to be. Wear a belt. Gramification.
What if he wore a
really.
belt over his sweatpants? Would that be better or worse?
That's gotta be worse. Unless they're the fanciest belt, like, does it have belt
Suspenders,
loops?
a nice little bow tie on top of his wife beater.
Exactly.
I'm just getting this whole ensemble. I want a paper doll of this guy. This sounds amazing.
Oh, the next episode that to air is a sticker episode. It's Fielding Edlow is a sticker dork, and she loves to make a diorama of stickers. It's her favorite thing. She's like, people will put like a cupcake on an envelope, and I'm like, yeah, that's fine, but I could make a bakery out of stickers, because you can go to Sticker Planet, and I was like, what's Sticker Planet? And she was like, what do you mean, what's Sticker Planet? It's a store that just sells stickers.
That sounds actually like a great time.
It's an amazing time. She says that she has spent $100 in one time.
Is it in LA?
It is in Los Angeles, in the Grove, which she mocked and then went anyway. And so whatever. But yeah. So okay.
Right. Cleopatra.
Yes, please.
I was
Sorry,
gonna say,
I waited off.
No, it's okay. We're probably running short on time. So we all know. Clap if you know about Cleopatra.
Well, we've heard of her.
Yeah.
We've all heard of Cleopatra.
So what she's mainly known for is that she banged both Julius Caesar and Mark Antony.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
She loved an Italian.
She loved 2 Italians.
At least.
And you know what they call that?
What?
That's amore.
I laughed against my will. I didn't want to.
I have that effect on people. As did Cleopatra.
Oh, really?
She was a very astute stateswoman. Like, everybody's like, oh, great, she's talking about the boring crap now.
No, do it. Do it.
She killed most of her family to maintain the throne in Egypt.
Okay.
They had for a long time, much like in Game of Thrones with the Targaryen family, married brother to sister to keep it all in the bloodline.
Right.
And
you know what happens when you do that with horses? You get nervous horses.
Yeah.
Anyway, but okay.
they perhaps were not nervous enough, the Ptolemies. They were not Egyptian. Did you guys know that Cleopatra was not actually Egyptian? I learned so much from this book.
What is she?
She was Greek.
Weird.
Her family was Greek. They used to muck around with Alexander the Great back when he was being so-so. And
He was great. Who taught that guy? Was it anyway? It was like Aristotle,
Socrates.
It was like that. Okay, so go ahead.
Plato,
Pluto, Goofy. Everybody was there.
Donald Duck.
It was nice.
Sacred to the Egyptians, Donald Duck.
Sacred. So didn't she make herself an empress or a god?
Yeah, well, Egyptian monarchs were always born gods.
Okay.
She was unique though because a lot of the Ptolemies would only stick to the Greek gods, whereas she kind of fully embraced the Egyptian traditions.
Okay.
She identified herself very closely with Isis, who is sort of like the mother god, exemplified in the Judeo-Christian, or I guess just the Christian mythology as the Virgin Mary, but life giver, that kind of thing. So
there
she
was
would
a cartoon when I was a child. About ISIS. There was an ISIS cartoon. It was back in the 70s.
Was it like ongoing? Was it like the wacky adventures of ISIS?
Kind of.
She was Upper and Lower Egypt.
Shit. It was like a Wonder Woman like character. ISIS.
Yeah, I mean that actually is really
makes sense.
What ISIS was.
Okay.
Yeah. And also what Cleopatra was. So she was married to her 10-year-old brother when she assumed the throne. Her father died. She had to marry her brother.
Okay.
And
had to get it done.
Things kind of went south, as they will when you have to marry your much younger sibling. So they had a lot of problems. She wound up going into exile. And then, fortunately for her, the Roman Civil War between Julius Caesar and Pompey started.
Okay.
Pompey fled a battle.
What year
with
are we
Caesar.
talking about?
Oh, this is about 48 BC.
Okay.
I think.
All right, good call.
I don't know. I had a high school history teacher who told me that dates weren't important, and I have carried that forward through my entire life.
That? You're like,
yeah, I did. Ask me when I got married. I don't know.
Sometime in the last couple of years.
Yeah, at some point I got married.
Nice. All right.
Like, what am I, a judge?
Is it KellyAnneken.com?
It is KellyAnneken.com.
There we go. I'll link it. And are you on the Twitter?
Oh, I'm super on the Twitter.
On at Kelly Anneken?
I'm actually at the Fatling.
Okay. Why?
My friend and I were talking once about how it's hard to be a little chubby and attractive at the same time. And I said, what if I just started calling you the Fatling? Like, that's adorable.
Right.
And she was like, no, I hate you.
Right.
And I was like,
what if I call myself the Fatling?
Well, now I call her her fatness, like
right.
Her Majesty. That's what I call her now. And I get to be the Fatling. So we have
sounds like a really good relationship.
We have a very healthy relationship.
Two friends. How long you been friends, you and your friend?
We've been friends, I think, bad with dates again.
Right, since the Laura Wilder?
Like 7 years? No. I met her actually after college.
Okay.
We both made the same bad decision and got theater degrees, so we bonded over that immediately.
Yeah,
she got a graduate degree in theater, though, so I win.
You do win.
Yeah.
Because of student loans.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. So, and I just wanted to make sure we get the website and the Twitter and everything out. So, so Cleopatra.
Yeah, so
she's in exile.
She's in exile.
Roman thingy-bob happens.
Yeah, civil war's going on. Pompey flees to Rome.
Okay.
Gets beheaded by her brother's troops. And so
he flees to Rome?
I'm sorry, he fled. He fled.
Right.
He fled.
He fled.
He flent somewhere.
Right. He went on vacation to whatever.
So he goes to Alexandria.
There we go.
Which was the seat of the Egyptian Empire, such as it was. It was kind of in ruins at the time. It was not a very good empire anymore.
Oh, really?
They really lost their touch. Mm-hmm. So he gets there thinking he's going to be welcomed by his sort of allies, but the problem with like a client king is that sometimes they want to kill you, and they don't really have a good reason not to, especially because Egypt, despite not having a huge empire, was the richest nation in the world at the time.
Okay.
Cleopatra actually 22nd on the list of most wealthy people of all time.
People magazine? Forbes? Mm-hmm. What was that?
I think just Wikipedia.
Wikipedia, and what was the source of their wealth?
The source of their wealth was that they just had piles and piles of treasure lying around.
That's awesome.
They just had it. You know what? Their currency, the unit of measurement was called the talent, which I like a lot.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
As someone with pretensions to talent.
Sure.
I'm like, no, pay me as many talents as you think I have, please.
Right.
4. Anyway. So he went there, got his head chopped off by Cleopatra's husband guy.
Yeah.
He was thinking this was a good idea because he's like, oh, everyone in Rome wants to kill me, but it turned out people in Egypt also wanted to kill him.
Right.
So they killed him. Cleopatra, very craftily, because she had no recourse. Alexandria hated her at the time. Nobody really liked her. Yeah.
The town had turned on her.
They did not like her, so she put herself in essentially a leather sack and had someone carry her to Caesar, because Caesar followed Pompey, only to find out that this idiot child killed had him murdered.
Right.
So Caesar pretended to be mad.
Right.
Because...
As an excuse.
Exactly.
To be mad. Okay.
So Cleopatra shows up in this leather sack and is like, hey, what's up, Julius Caesar? My name is Cleopatra. I hate my brother. You hate my brother. What if we had sex?
Right. And then we'll lead a bunch of people to kill my brother?
Yeah, and that's pretty much what they did. It's not totally clear exactly when they started having sex, but they definitely were doing it.
Right. If she's like you, she was like, I don't know, a couple of years
Yeah,
ago.
she's like, whatever, you know?
Whatever.
She's like, listen, I got a kingdom to run. I can't be keeping track of when our anniversary is, Caesar. Gotta invent mascara. I'm very busy.
So, did she invent mascara?
She didn't. That's actually just a reference to a Daria episode.
Nothing wrong with that.
Anyway, so she was with Caesar for a long time, and he actually just kind of hung out in Egypt far longer than was necessary.
Well, that'll happen if you're getting some.
And they did finally win the war. And then they went on this weird, long barge cruise down the Nile, and so she was just kind of like tossing coins to people, not talents.
Okay.
That was too much for like a normal person to have.
Or just like coppers or something.
Yeah,
or whatever.
like piddling peasant money.
Right.
I think a talent would have been heavy enough to knock somebody out too if you threw it. I don't. This is just in my mind. It's like
what it is
bars
made
of
of.
like platinum. I don't know what it actually looked like.
Sure.
So he then went back to Rome, and then a couple months later, she goes to Rome because she had his baby.
Oh, did she?
Oh, she very much probably did. This is the thing. You can't talk about Cleopatra in certain terms. Just be like,
Right.
maybe.
Right, nobody
Because
has...
even this book is called Cleopatra, A Life, but it's mostly like, here's what Caesar and Mark Antony and
That's what everybody
Octavian were up
claims.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's just, the history was written by Rome.
Okay.
All right. And beyond that, history, is written by men.
And what was the... So, she might have had Caesar's baby. And
Yeah.
what was that baby's name?
Caesarean.
Seriously?
Look, it was really important for so long to name your baby after the person you wanted people to think knocked you up.
In the middle of seriously, I realized that it wasn't Caesarean.
No.
It's Caesar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I-O-N.
I was
But
I went medical.
you're not,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep up.
That's okay.
I didn't read the book. It's
That's
very
fine.
nice. So she had a little Caesar boy baby?
Yeah, little Caesar boy baby, which none of
Okay.
his wives had been able to provide him. That's one reason that the paternity is disputed, because Caesar
He would have kept him.
Well, no. People always thought Caesar was impotent. Or not, infertile.
Infertile.
Is that, what do you call it? Guys, what do you call it when you can't?
Barren.
Sterile.
Okay. I like barren.
Caesar was barren and talentless. Caesar was talentless. Rome did not have a lot of money, so it was very strategically wise for him to be hooked up with Cleopatra.
Right, because she had nothing but money.
Oh, yeah.
And he had nothing but armies.
Yeah.
So
and
that is
very
a match
questionable sperm.
Right. But, okay, so then what happened?
So she goes to Rome, and Caesar installed her in his villa in the same city where his wife lived. And Romans were very weird because they would have affairs, but like you kind of weren't supposed to, but you also kind of were. Like
Right.
you weren't allowed to show affection for your spouse.
Okay.
Like Mark Antony was once reprimanded for publicly nuzzling his wife. Which might be appropriate depending on what, like, was this, like, heavy nuzzling? Was this...
How big a PDA was going down?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I get it. Weird.
Yeah, but the Romans also, like, Rome was a very dirty city. Like, it was basically living in a chamber pot, like, made of clay and smelled of urine all the time.
Okay.
They didn't hold with decorating anything or wearing finery. Caesar actually implemented all of these, like, very harsh measures to keep people from, like, eating good foods, which Cicero, which is where we get a lot of information at the time, he was a really great orator and he was a senator. He loved to eat weird, like, delicacies like ostrich and stuff. But, like, Caesar was like, no, we're all eating gruel. Like, to save money, we are all eating gruel all the time.
Wow. All right. He's my dad. He's like, we're going to set it at 65. You're going to wear a sweater. That's what's going to happen.
I mean, he was the father of Rome in many ways, of the Roman Empire. So anyway, so Cleopatra goes there. She's trying to, kind of jockey
Loosen him
for
up.
position.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, while she's there, Caesar gets murdered.
Oh, Ides of March.
Yeah, by his supposed friends.
Stab, stab, stab.
Yeah. So they really stabbed the hell out of him. And just, like, to his face. Like, he
Well, not initially.
He's like trying to like bat them away.
Right. There's et tu, Brute, and then.
But they weren't even good at stabbing. I think that's what makes me the most angry about Caesar's death.
Well, it'd be like if Obama went into Congress and all like 500 people had to stab him.
That's true.
So it's not like, they were just like, we're all in this together.
Not all of them did. I think it was only like 37.
No, they all had to. That was the rule.
They all but they didn't all.
Did they not?
Yeah.
Oh, all the there we go.
all the conspirators.
Thank you.
Not the entire
Thank you very
Senate.
much. All right. Okay. And all the conspirators did. That's what we were told from the audience. Very nice. Good to know. Good to know. So,
right. So Cleopatra was like, I'm getting the hell out of here.
How'd that work out?
It worked out really well.
Oh, good.
Yeah, she was able to escape very easily because she left.
She had another leather sack and some dudes.
She actually had a ship this time, and it was favorable winds.
Okay.
So she was able to hightail it back to Alexandria pretty quickly.
Is that how this thing ends? Her leaving?
No, because we haven't even gotten to Mark Antony yet.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is that the second half?
That's the second half, basically. So
I thought that she slept with Mark Antony first.
No, he was the sloppy seconds portion of this situation.
Yes.
And he was sloppy by all accounts, could not hold his liquor.
But he was potent?
He was very potent. She had 3 children by him.
Wow.
And so the reason that he came over to Egypt, because he lived in Egypt for most of the latter part of his life. So instead of acknowledging her son Caesarion as his heir, Caesar named his nephew Octavian, who later became Caesar Augustus, who you remember from the Bible.
What book are you speaking of?
In the Bible, Caesar Augustus decreed the tax.
Right.
That made Jesus happen.
Right.
Just Cliff's notes.
Because that's how you make Jesus.
You make Jesus with taxes.
By taxing people.
Ask any Republican.
Exactly. That's how it's done.
So he named Octavian his heir. Mark Antony was super pissed.
Right.
Because Mark Antony had spent all these years licking Caesar's boots thinking that he was going to be named his heir.
Right.
This is not what happened.
Not.
And so there's this long period that we won't get into because it's very confusing and I don't remember all of their names. But there were several people kind of vying to be sort of like first citizen of Rome.
Right.
Eventually it was decided there would be a triumvirate, of which Octavian and Mark Antony were 2. I forget the other guy might have been Dolabella. I don't remember.
All right. I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I'm not above it.
So anyway, Mark Antony was named in charge of the East, which included Egypt. So he went over there, and Cleopatra had made some strategic missteps during this civil war.
Okay.
She had tried to send aid to the wrong guy. People that she tried to send to Mark Antony, got they actually mutinied and went off to a different side. So she had to then go meet him at Tarsus and explain why.
Have you been to Tarsus? It fucking blows.
Actually, it sounded pretty nice.
It sounded nice.
It sounded really nice.
A lot of palm trees.
So she pulls out all the stops. No leather sack this time.
Right.
She outfits this whole barge and basically dresses as Venus.
Okay.
Because she's heard that Mark Antony claims to be descended from Hercules.
Okay.
And likes to style himself after Dionysus.
Right.
So she's like
little cosplay?
Yeah.
Little cosplay?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
they
yeah.
did it all the time. They were so nuts back then.
Yeah.
Octavian was like, no, Apollo's my, ancestor. He's he's totally, my dad. So she's, floating down this barge, full of, fragrant oils and incense and things
Money
like
is
that.
no object.
And she's like, hey, Dionysus, Venus is coming to play.
Yeah.
So then, they hook up there.
Sure.
And then they go back to Alexandria. And they kind of just partied for a really long time.
Years?
Years they partied.
Okay.
And Antony had a wife back in Rome.
Right.
Named Fulvia, which is a great name.
It sounds good.
Really great. She was actually pretty cool. She was described by her contemporaries as a virago, which means she was a bitch.
Chatty Magoo. Chatty,
but she actually, she did a lot of political schemery on behalf of Mark Antony.
For or against?
For.
Really?
She thought.
So, okay.
But in the end, she overstepped her boundaries and was basically going to war with Octavian on Antony's behalf. And so he had to go back to Rome at that point and be like, hey,
triage
this isn't cool.
Okay.
So he and Octavian hated each other.
Sure.
They really hated each other, but then
they wanted the same spot on the chessboard.
They did. But the solution to this problem was not to just kill each other. It was to have Antony marry Octavian's sister, Octavia. Again, all through history, people just give their kids the same names. What is that about? I don't understand this.
Well, and he had a wife, Mark
Antony?
Yeah.
Fulvia. But he divorced her. People could get divorced very easily in Rome.
Oh, okay.
You could just be like, hey, we're divorced now, and that was pretty much it.
Oh, that's nice.
There wasn't any stigma either. I mean, marriage was very much not a romantic situation. It was considered uncouth to fall in love with your spouse.
Right. You were busy falling in love with the pool boy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, or, anyone really. As long as they weren't your spouse, like, go for it. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting. Anyway, so.
So he went back and married Octavia.
Yep.
And she was like the Roman ideal. She was very submissive. She actually raised all of Mark Antony's children that were not hers. Which is
the best stepmother in the world.
Yeah, she was a good woman apparently. Kind of dull, but very beautiful.
Well, classic.
More beautiful than Cleopatra at the time is what she was considered.
Really?
Yeah, Cleopatra has a reputation for being very beautiful.
Yes.
And the consensus seems to be that she was definitely a magnetic personality. This is also true of Madame de Stael.
Yeah.
That they weren't necessarily conventionally beautiful.
Okay.
But people were very attracted to them.
Right, because they had great personalities.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is, you know.
Well, and they were good at sex.
Well, yeah, but I mean, the thing is there's like that mesmerizing eyeball stare that some ladies can do, whether they're good looking or not. Guys have it too.
Yeah. Ryan Gosling, hello.
I don't know.
Which one's
he? Which one's he?
Oh, he's that one.
He's the
hot one.
A hot guy who's in a movie?
Yeah. He had actually been in several movies.
I know, but I don't know which.
Drive.
Nope.
The Notebook.
Nope.
Was
he in the Avengers?
No, he was not in. Robert Downey Jr. has it.
Monsters Inc.
He was in Young Hercules? The TV show?
Firefly?
Oh my God.
Oh, was he? Who was
Netflix,
in that thing?
Here I Come. Wait. How old was he though?
Age appropriate.
Like of age or?
He was probably 22 or 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. All right. I just didn't want to sound too creepy.
Right. You wanted to creep out on Ryan
Well, just like
Gosling
the right amount of
Wait,
creepy.
who was in the thing with Steve Carell? and the that was Ryan Gosling, the one who dressed really well and
yeah. What was that? Like Love Actually 2 or something?
It was How to Be a Tool Bag. It was nice. Yeah, I liked that movie. It made me never want to wear sneakers again. And to bring it up a notch, I have not. Because remember he said, you're better than the Gap?
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that one?
No.
He was very handsome in that one.
I believe it. He's handsome in everything.
I think he took off his shirt and what's-her-face again.
Oh, right. Emma Stone was in that, and they had that sex scene.
And they had that scene where she was like, what, are you airbrushed?
Yeah.
How did you...
that was in the commercials. I remember that part.
Yeah, that part. Sure.
I don't go to the movies anymore. I just see trailers, and I'm like, I should go see that. And then in my mind, I have seen the movie.
But you saw Drive and The Notebook and some other damn thing.
I never saw The Notebook.
Oh, no?
No, I did see Drive.
Okay.
Might have been the last movie I saw in the
cars?
theaters. It's about a guy who drives cars.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like it.
I know, it's kind of a curveball title.
Uh-huh. So people should read these books, is what you're saying.
People should absolutely read these books.
These are three great, very readable,
They're very readable.
Okay, so they're not too
even the
dense?
one about Madame de Stael.
It seems a little dense. But
it is a little dense, but it's actually
fascinating.
It was written in the 50s.
Okay.
And it actually reads like it was written today, which is crazy.
Okay, Cleopatra, A Life, Stacy Schiff, Mistress to an Age by J. Christopher Harold, and Susan Quinn writes, How the WPA Cast of Thousands Made High Art, Desperate Times. Furious Improvisation. And, whatever. Anyway,
it's a bad title.
But it was, the thing is we could do another hour on 3 different, biographies you've read, probably.
Probably.
Yeah, but, Kelly Anneken, I'd like to thank you for being on the Dork
I'd like to thank you for having me on the Dork Forest.
Nice work. And I'd like to thank you guys for coming out to see the Dork Forest live in San Francisco. Everyone gets a magnet or a spooky reading girl sticker. So stick around. Thanks a lot, you guys. Good night.
My hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?